Let's talk about an idea that feels, well, completely backward. We're going to explore how the quietest person in the room can actually be the most powerful one.
I mean, think about it. In meetings, at parties, even just arguing with family, our heads naturally turn to the person who's talking the most, right? The loudest, most assertive one. We just assume they're in charge, that they've got the best ideas. But what if we've got that all wrong? And that is the core idea we're going to unpack today. That real authority, real influence, doesn't need to yell to be heard. It works on a totally different wavelength. The big question is, how does that actually work in the real world? Okay, so first things first, before we can build up this quiet authority, we have to tear something down. And that's a trap I think we all fall into, the loudness myth. And look, it's an easy mistake to make. Someone talking loud and fast, it can look like passion, it can look like confidence, but a lot of the time, it's really a sign of something else, an ego that needs to dominate, or maybe even just a lack of self-control. We're basically mistaking volume for value. So, if being the loudest person in the room isn't the real answer, what is? Well, that brings us to a much more effective alternative, the power of presence.
The key idea here is something called low ego presence. Now, this isn't about having no ego at all. It's about having an ego that isn't so needy. It doesn't need to be validated all the time by winning every little argument. It's this deep, quiet confidence that lets you stay calm and centered and make a real impact without ever raising your voice.
And you can see the difference so clearly here. On one side, you've got that habitual, knee-jerk reaction. It's driven by ego, it's impulsive, it's loud, and it's all about just winning the moment. But on the other side, you have an intentional response. It's calm, it's regulated, and it's driven by a deeper purpose. This is the shift from just making noise to actually having influence.
So how do you actually cultivate this low ego presence? Is it some kind of magic trick? Well, no, not at all. It's really just a set of skills. So let's break down the anatomy of quiet authority.
This whole idea is built on three main pillars: using the pause as a tool of power, becoming an emotional anchor, and developing something called empathic accuracy. Let's dig into each one.
Our first pillar is a big one. It means we have to completely rewire how we think about silence in the middle of a conversation. You know, we're so conditioned to see a pause as a bad thing, right? As hesitation or weakness or like you don't know what to say. But a deliberate, strategic pause, that's actually a sign of total regulation and control. It sends a signal to everyone that you're not just reacting on impulse, you're actually choosing your words. And that simple act of not rushing to fill the silence, it can completely shift the power dynamic in a room.
Okay, so just like a pause controls the pace of a conversation, our second pillar is all about controlling the emotional energy. In any kind of tense situation, your job isn't to join the storm and get swept up in the drama. Your job is to be the anchor.
Think about it. When everyone else is escalating, getting louder, more worked up, the one person who stays calm automatically gains a kind of high status. Your composure becomes this gravitational force. People just subconsciously start looking to you for stability. By staying anchored, you're not just controlling yourself, you're actually influencing the emotional state of everyone else around you. And being that calm anchor is what makes our third and most subtle pillar even possible. It's called empathetic accuracy. And this is way more than just listening. It's about listening strategically.
Quiet people, because they spend less time talking, often develop this skill to an incredible degree. They're not just waiting for their turn to jump in, they can actually hear the emotions under the surface, the real questions people are too afraid to ask. And understanding what someone really means, not just what they're saying, that is an absolute superpower in any conversation.
So, you take the pause, the emotional anchor, and that deep listening, and when you put them all together, they combine to create something really potent, a totally new and much deeper kind of confidence.
And this right here is the ultimate takeaway. The loudest person in the room is often desperately trying to prove they're right. But with low ego presence, you don't have to. You have this quiet conviction that when you do decide to speak, your calm, well-chosen words will carry all the weight they need to. So if you've ever been told you're too quiet, or if you've ever felt like you get overlooked, I really want you to remember this. Your quiet nature isn't some liability that needs to be fixed. It's the foundation for a massive strategic advantage, as long as you learn how to use it.
So that's the thought I'll leave you with. The next time you're in a tricky discussion, don't just think about what you're going to say. Think about how you'll use the pause, how you'll be the anchor, and how you'll listen more deeply.
How will you command the room by saying less?